بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, last week we managed to study a letter that Allamah Tabataba'i wrote in response to a request from a young student who had asked him for advice. We read the first letter from a young person who was 22 years old, and then we read the reply that Allamah wrote. And as you remember, there were few things in the Allamah's reply. The main thing perhaps was condition of muraqabah, that from the beginning of the day you try to be very careful about whatever you do or say, to make sure that you do them or you say them to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It comes from the Rakib, no?
Yes, muraqabah.
Same as from Rakib.
Yeah, yes. Allah is Raqib and we should do muraqabah. And then he said, at the night, you review what you have done. If you have done, good things, you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have done bad things, you do istighfar. For every mistake, you do istighfar separately. And also, he said, before you sleep, you recite the chapters, yes, which start with tasbih, musabbahat, at least Surah al-Hashr. And then he said, write me back after 20 days. There is a second letter.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So for the astaghfar that he said for everything wrong that you do, is there any specification? So if I did something wrong and I just say astaghfirullah one time, is that enough, or is there a proper etiquette to it?
Istighfar is more a matter of regret and remorse. It's not just saying astaghfirullah. You say astaghfirullah as a formal acknowledgement. But the main thing is that in your heart, you must regret. You must feel terrible. Why I did this? Okay? So that nadam, that's the main element in istighfar. There is a second letter. In some places they talk about it as if it is from the same person. But I'm not sure it's the same person, because some of the things about that person maybe is different, or maybe that person in 1 year, because that the first one was 22, this is 23 years old, and he says he has finished the high school. That one was the final 5th year. Maybe the same person, maybe different person. Anyway, in the previous one, he was addressing Allama, whoever was the Nukhbatul Falasifa, the select of the philosophers, and Ayatollah al-Uzma. Here he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Mahzar Muqaddas Nukhbatul Mujtahidin, the select of the Mujtahidin. So I don't think someone in 1 year shifts so much from philosophy to fiqh. Last year he was saying Nukhbatul Falasifa, this is a Nukhbatul Mujtahidin. Anyway, I quickly read for you what he says in this letter.
We don't have this one, Sheikh. Do we have?
No, this one is in Farsi. I don't know if it is in English. You can check, if it's in English. I didn't have time to find it English.
I have to read it in Farsi.
Pardon?
I think we'll be able to read Farsi now.
Yes.
So
Farsi is
can you get us
available.
a letter?
Pardon?
Can you get us a letter, or should we?
Yes.
On
Yes.
the email or what?
Yes. Yeah, you can send you the link.
Ahsan.
Yeah.
Ahsan.
So, he says to علامه خداوند انشاءالله خیر دنیا و آخرت عطایت فرماید و با اولیا و انبیا محشورت سازد. This style actually in Farsi is not very polite. And I think he didn't know how, he was not impolite, but he didn't know how to be polite. Sometimes you are polite, but you don't know how to be polite. You want to be respectful, but you don't know. When you talk to an alim, you don't use singular, pronoun. Atayat, this is we don't use for. He says, Baradar Aziz, dear brother. You don't say to an alim, dear brother. Anyway, pardon? Yes, we are brothers, but when you, for example, call your father, you don't say, dear brother. When you call, for example, your teacher, you don't say, dear brother.
He can say that. But
Yes. So when we talk to someone who is higher than us, especially there are positions that have titles.
Yes.
For example, if someone is, Ayatollah, someone is Ayatollah Uzma, someone is Hujjatul Islam. Those people shouldn't, be very particular about this, but we have to observe. Anyway, but this person didn't mean anything bad. He was new to this world of titles and etiquettes and برادر عزیز فراوان احساس کمبودی میکنم. I very much feel I lack. Okay? I feel I lack. I'm not satisfied with what I have. هرچه دست و پا میزنم و تلاش میکنم و به هر جهت مینگرم دریا در نظرم وسیع‌تر جلوه میکنم. The more I struggle, the more I make efforts, the more I look at the ocean, I would realize how great is the task in front of me. I see the ocean is greater. ندانم در چه مسیری روی گردانم. I don't know where I should face, to which direction I should go. This shows that this person is really interested in spirituality. He's talking as a person that is not happy. Yeah? If you are happy with what you are, then you don't want to make any improvement. You should not be happy with what you are. Okay? You want more. He said, I don't know to which direction I should turn. کدام سفینه را سوار شوم تا به ساحل خوشبختی برسم. Which ship I should get on board to take me to the coast of salvation. از شما برادر عزیز استمداد می طلبم. I ask help from you, dear brother. نمیدانم مرا چه می شود. I don't know what has happened to me. What is wrong with me. مدتی است خود را چنان بینم که بر آسمان افکارم ابرهای سنگین و تیره و تار برآمده. I don't know what has happened to me. It's quite a while that I see in the sky of my ideas and thoughts there are dark clouds. You understand? So it's not a bright day. It's a dark day. و عالم مرا غمناک ساخته است and has made my world very sad. حتی غرشی نیست تا ببارد. There is no also, thunder, no, rain coming so that the sky becomes clear. عامل این تیرگی چیز why my sky has become dark نمیدانم. I don't know. در لابلای این حالات فکر می کنم اگر سؤال مرا در این موضوع پاسخ گویید راحت شوم. In the middle of these thoughts, I think if you give me answer, inshallah I would be able to get rid of this sadness. Then he says, please listen very carefully. Even if you read the letter of an ordinary person, try to read it carefully. Yeah? Don't say, I only read Quran carefully, or I only read, books on my lessons carefully. If you get used to read things without carefulness, then even when it comes to Quran, you are not careful. Yeah? You have to get used to reading everything carefully, listening to everything carefully. Okay? This has to become a habit for you. So he says, dear brother, با روشنبینی خود و حقیقت خواهی خود اگر بتوانید حالت مرا درک کنید, with your insightfulness and your truth-seeking nature, if you can understand what is my condition and give me such an answer that there would be a kind of, you say a spark, when a light comes?
Yeah.
A kind of a spark. So that till end of my life I would be clear. آیا می توانید راهنمایی کنید تا عاشق خدا شوم? Could you please help me so that I become a lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? عاشق پیامبر شوم, to become a lover of the Prophet. عاشق اولیای خدا شوم, to become a lover of the friends of God. راه چیست و چاره کدام? What is the path? What is the solution? اگر راز عشق مرا آموزید و معشوق را به نیکی برایم بشناسانی ولو بروی خود میروم. If you show me the secret of love and show me well my beloved, then I can carry on even if you go away. But show me what is the secret of love and introduce to me my beloved, then you can leave me alone with my beloved. Or at least I can carry. اگر حالت عشق در من بتوانی سازی, if you can create love in me, و دستم گرفته به کوی عشق رهبری نمایید, and take my hand, hold my hand and take me to the lane of love, و با اشاره معشوق را بنمایید, so you take me to the lane which ends in the house of the beloved and say that's your beloved, دوان میروم, then I would run myself and I would never be relaxed till I reach him. اما چه کنم? But what can I do? جاهلم و عاشق نیستم. I am ignorant and not a lover. موقعیت نویسنده, my situation, I am a طلبه and I have finished my high school. I am studying لمع and أصول الفقه. My age is 23. Then he says, استاد عزیز, dear teacher, از قرآن جز خواندن بدون تعارف چیزی نمیدانم. Without any exaggeration, I don't know anything of the Quran except how to read the Quran. I don't have any understanding of the Quran. This shows he's humble that he like that. از سخنان معصومین تقریبا بیگانه‌ام. I am very unfamiliar, almost unknown to me about معصومین, word of معصومین. چگونه و به چه اندازه بر آنها وارد شوم. How much and how I should go to the words of the infallible imams and how to benefit from them. صبر کنم تا رشد علمی بیابم. Shall I wait few more years till I become, for example, a good scholar, I continue my study, then I go to the hadith and Quran to study, or parallel to my studies of my lessons, the Hawzah, I should start, reflecting on the hadith and Quran. What should I do? Now, the response of Allamah. So, after Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allamah says, به عرض شریف میرساند. This is such polite way of talking that you can say this to your teacher. The way Allamah is addressing this young person is so polite that you could use it to address your teacher. به عرض شریف میرساند. I humbly mention to your excellency. Something like this. It's very polite. نامه شریف دوم زیارت شد. I had the privilege of seeing your second letter. زیارت شد. Not رؤیت شد. رؤیت means to look at something or someone. زیارت, means a kind of, having privilege of seeing something. قبلا نیز یک نامه دیگری رسیده بود که تاکنون پاسخ آن نوشته نشده. Before also I had received another letter that so far I have not replied. Then he says why he was not able to reply. He says اصولاً در زمستان گذشته در اثر کسالت مزاج و ناراحتی اعصاب نه تنها نامه جناب عالی بلکه نامه های زیاد دیگری که در این مدت رسیده تا امروزها برای هیچ کدام نتوانستم جواب بنویسم. Last winter, because of my illness and my problem conditions, not only your letter, many other letters I have received and I have not been able to write back to them. Now that my condition is improving, رو به بهبودی است، به تدریجاً gradually I am replying to these letters. به هر حال عذر گذشته را میخواهم. But no matter what was my situation, I asked for forgiveness. Imagine. عرض کنم is a way that is very humble. Yeah. So normally when we address a great scholar or a great person, we don't say من گفتم شما گفتید. We can say من گفتم شما گفتید, but this is on the edge. You say من عرض کردم شما فرمودید. شما فرمودید من عرض کردم. من گفتم شما گفتم is like equal. But you say شما فرمودید من عرض کردم. Not equal. Okay? عرض کنم. Then Allamah is talking to him like this. I many times say that I wish someone like Allamah Tabataba'i was in the West and he would introduce Islam. If people were able to see someone like Allamah in the West and someone with this Akhlaq, with this spirituality, with this humbleness, then it would be different. But now that Allama is not with us, at least try to imagine if Allama was in the West, what he was doing and what type of lectures he was giving. At least you can imagine. And I'm sure he would then find some ways of doing tabligh is not matching Allama's style. روشی که برای ما در همه حال و همه شرایط در حد ضرورت است. The method that for us in all circumstances and all conditions is necessary. So it's not for young talabah or mujtahid, ordinary people. It's not different. For everyone. در حد ضرورت. It's a necessity. What is that روش? روش بندگی. To be a servant. It's not very complicated. We have to be servant of Allah subhanahu. Just keep dictating yourself that you are not master, you are servant. And servant has to be humble, has to be thinking of what is the interest of his master, what is the pleasure of his master or her master. روش بندگی و به عبارت دیگر روش خداشناسی است. Or in other words, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because to be master or to know to be servant or to know your master is the two sides of the same coin. You cannot be a servant without knowing who is your master. و راه آن. How can you reach this servitude? راه آن طبق آنچه از کتاب و سنت برمی آید. According to what we can understand from the Quran and Sunnah, the way to reach servitude همانا یاد خدا و امتثال تکالیف عملی است. Is to remember Allah and implement Allah's commands. Those takalif, those obligations that you have to do it. But remember Allah and do them, not forget Allah and do them. یعنی همان مراقبه و محاسبه است که در نامه اولی خدمتتان عرض شد. So either this person is the same person who had, or this is person that also had sent another letter. We don't know, but anyway, Allama says the same muraqabah and muhasabah that we said in the first letter is the way to make sure that you remember God and you do your wajibat, your takalif. Muraqabah during the actions and muhasabah at the end to review. فعلا. Now as a practical instruction. به این ترتیب که هر صبح که از خواب بیدار می شوید. Every day that you wake up تصمیم بگیرید که خدا را فراموش نخواهید کرد. So every day you wake up, make a decision that you would not forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, as soon as you wake up, make a wuzu. Even if you have done your salat already, and you have, for example, again, gone to sleep. Anyway, as soon as you wake up, make wuzu, and make this decision that you would try to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Can we call it irada or azm here?
Yes, decision. آنگاه, please listen very carefully. آنگاه به طور استمرار خود را در برابر خدا تصور کنید. You remember when we were talking about muraqabah, I said muraqabah is to think that you are seeing Allah, or at least Allah is seeing you. If you are not able to see Him, at least He's seeing you. Remember this all the time. So he says, continuously you should imagine yourself, you think of yourself as someone present before God.
What does anga mean?
Anga means then. Then. So you should always think that Allah is here, Allah is present, Allah is watching you. We have to get used to this.
We can call it huzur qalb.
No, not huzur qalb. This is what we said, I said, alam mahzar khudast. Allah is present. شب وقت خواب به حساب کارهای روز بپردازید. When it's the time of sleeping, review what you have done during the day. اگر غفلتی شده, if God forbids there has been negligence, heedlessness, استغفار و توبیخ نفس, ask forgiveness from Allah and blame yourself. Blame yourself. Sometimes you have to be harsh with yourself. Maybe sometimes even, of course, without causing harm, you have to slap yourself. What have you done? Because sometimes when we do something physically, we can remember it better, If I just, criticize myself, maybe I forget. Sometimes, maybe it's good I slap on my face so that you remember. At least the pain is there, but not cause harm to yourself. Okay, not that the next day you go to the street, people say, why it's red, You say, our teacher said I have to. Okay, so, توبیخ nafs. You have to blame yourself, criticize yourself. اگر نشده, if there was no heedlessness, no negligence, غفلت نشده, حمدی به خدا. Thank Allah subhanahu. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, today I was careful, but it's very difficult. Actually, the more cautious you become, then you realize how much chance of negligence is there. If you want to be very careful. But inshallah, you can always improve. Of course, again here, you shouldn't lose balance. Because there are people who are too critical of themselves. That is not also good. If you become too critical of yourself, 90% of people are not critical of themselves. But there are a few percentage who are too critical, then they should, take it easy. Balance is very important. Yes. Pardon? Ghaflat, yeah, means you forget God, even if you have not done anything haram, but you have forgotten God.
So this is not being too critical. This is okay.
Yeah, it's good because you try to remember all the time. ضمناً برای تقویت ذکر. Okay, you want to be mindful of Allah. In order to strengthen mindfulness, تا 40 روز, up to 40 days. This is very important because Allah gives instruction of zikr. Of course, there is a discussion here. Zikr has two types. Some zikrs are like medicine. Some zikrs are like vitamins. Vitamins. Okay? So, if, for example, you say salawat, la ilaha illallah, la hawla wa la quwwata, as much as is recommended after salat during the day, different dhikrs, these are good for your health, spiritual health. But if you want to focus on one particular dhikr, okay, and say it I don't know, this number of times for this number of days, then it becomes a serious issue. You know, if you take different, for example, vitamins, supplements, it's okay. But if you just want to take, for example, vitamin A, and every day certain, for example, dosage of vitamin A, then it needs prescription. So, people who give instruction on dhikr have to be qualified. It's not that everyone can give instruction for dhikr. Unless it's general, like, remember Allah, salawat, la ilaha illallah, tasbih, dhikr of every day, 100 times. These are general. But if someone says, say this 1,000 times every day for 40 days, this needs qualification. And also, not only qualification, some people believe that the one who gives you zikr is also very important. It's not like physical medicine. In physical medicine, it's not important who prescribed it and who gave you the medicine. You just take it and it has some impact on your body. Maybe there is some impact in knowing who is the doctor, but very little. Yeah? You take this medicine from any pharmacy, from any factory, from any doctor, and then it has some impact on your body. But a spiritual medicine is different. Who gave you this advice? It's like teacher. Who is your teacher? You don't say, anyone. What do you mean anyone? You don't have anyone. It's like, for example, who is your father? Is it anyone? Who is your teacher? You have to have a person who is selected, who is qualified, you can be raising your head and say, this is my teacher. Or I teach myself. It's not enough. Zikr is also like this. Who has given you this zikr? Someone. I found it on internet. If it is a special zikr, then someone who is qualified. Someone like Allamah Tabataba'i, who has himself been instructed by, Ayatollah Qazi, this is very important. Therefore, I never dare, giving anyone zikr, because I say, I am not qualified. I can just give you general advice, like, for example, there is a difference between nurse and doctor. Nurse can tell you, take, this or that, but there is a limit. We need doctors. We need Allamah Tabataba'i. But unfortunately, some people, keep giving advice to people, in a specific way. Anyway, Allama says, برای تقویت ذکر تا 40 روز روزی 1000 مرتبه طرف صبح با توجه تام کلمه طیبه لا اله الا الله بگویید. Yes. So, you can use this. Inshallah, it works. But if Allama had told you directly, that's different. When they say something to someone, somehow their soul influences. But hopefully, inshallah, this light comes through their letter. But that is different. Yes. Because maybe, for example, if Allama knew you, instead of 1,000, he would have told you less or more or another thing, It's not something that you give to everyone. Yes.
What is the authenticity of, for example, if I'm reading Allama's letter or any authentic book, and some of the zikrs are there in the book, and someone asked me for that specific problem, and that specific problem was mentioned in the book as well. Can we give this zikr to someone, or can we act up ourselves, or we can't?
In medicine, if you are not a doctor and someone ask you, I have this condition. Can you open a book and say, according to this book, you should take this medicine?
No.
Only a doctor can read that book and give medicine. Yeah? Otherwise, nowadays, there are many softwares. You can put the symptoms and they tell you, you give this medicine. But this is not allowed. So, unless Allamah says that this is a zikr for everyone, or this is zikr for every talaba, I cannot generalize what he said to someone at a particular time to everyone. But we can see, for example, that now this seems to be okay. It's not a big deal that is going to, take you, 180 degree to different direction. To say for 40 days, 1,000 la ilaha illallah is okay. But in general, I wanted to say, be careful. Not listen to everyone who gives you some advice, or not to, for example, just find things in the books. You have to be very, very careful when it goes out of the ordinary and normal prescriptions. Ordinary normal prescriptions, everyone knows. But when it becomes a kind of treatment, that's different. You understand? There are supplementary that you don't need prescription, but there are things that you need prescription. Okay. برای تقویت ذکر تا 40 روز روزی 1000 مرتبه طرف صبح با توجه تام کلمه طیبه لا اله الا الله بگویید. In order to strengthen mindfulness and remembrance of Allah for 40 days, because when you do it 40, then it can be, inshallah, established. In the morning, with full attention, say the blessed word of La ilaha illallah 1,000 times. It doesn't take that much time. Okay? So before you go out, or before you start your work in home, after breakfast, before breakfast, anyway, in the morning, sit or walk, it depends on your situation, 1,000 times with full attention, La ilaha illallah. حال بندگی که از این روش به دست می آید الگو و مقیاس همه حالات زندگی است. That condition of servitude that comes out of this can be a standard or a measure for all conditions of life. So when you get used to this remembrance, then inshallah gradually this can continue throughout the year, and you can have that mindfulness when you are working in home, outside, studying, teaching, driving, eating. Inshallah you can have that mindfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the second letter of Allamah rahmatullah alayh. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the soul of all ulama, especially Allamah Tabataba'i rahmatullah alayh, and to include us among true learners and true seekers of knowledge and light, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
Can we act on these letters?
Pardon?
Can we start acting on these letters?